What's up, beautiful people? I'm Nathaniel Pearl,
And I'm Sammy Sheva.
and welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast, a show where we explore the infinite complexities of the human experience.
We do not endorse anything illegal, so please consult doctors, do your research, and for the love of all that is holy, be safe. All right, let's talk about drugs.
Curious Chimps.
It's so mysterious and creepy, and I have a farm, a strip of farm fields right next to my house. And when it gets foggy, it's so creepy. The cars pass by and it hits the light carries through the fog further, and you just see this open field, and it's straight out of a scary Halloween movie or something.
Okay, so we're pretty much going. So there's no real structure to this. We just edit where it should start, and we just go from there. If maybe you want to just say hi to everyone, introduce yourself, and I came across you. I think we connected on Facebook, and it was just your work is really fascinating, and I think our listeners are really going to enjoy going on this little journey of figuring that out and everything to do with it. So if you just want to share some light on what you do and who you are.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm Ben Haldeman, and I founded a company called LifeShip. And what we're doing is we're collecting DNA from all different species of plants, animals, fungi, and people, and we're saving this in a genetic seed of life of Earth, and then we're sending them outwards as part of life expanding outwards into the cosmos. And we're sending one to the moon next summer, and that's kind of the start of helping life expand outwards.
That's cool.
It's been a journey of coming to the point of, in my own growth, in my own development of seeing life as part of this system, and life as part of the universe, and seeing that part of humanity's role, both here on Earth and in the greater cosmos, is to help life expand outwards. And so we're doing it to preserve life, preserve a copy of our Earth today, and the incredible biodiversity of life we have on Earth. It seems to make sense to, let's save the blueprint of life today. And then let's, if you're going to save a copy of something, then you want to save it away from the original source. So we're saving a copy of Earth up on the moon. So it's there that we could get it back if we wanted, or our future descendants could get it back. And it's a step towards sending life outwards.
When you send it to the moon, how does that work? It's gonna ride with a spacecraft that's already going, and it's just gonna shoot right off.
Yep. So we actually live in this new exciting time for the moon. A lot of new landers are going back to the moon, and there's at least 10 companies building landers that are going to the moon over the next several years. And so this launches on a rocket. All the DNA gets embedded in this golden record about the size of a DVD. And the DNA all gets embedded in there, and it gets embedded within a knowledge archive of humanity as well. And then this goes on the rocket and goes on a lander on top of the rocket. And the lander is shared with a dozen NASA missions. So we're a tiny fraction of something already going there. And then the rocket blasts off, it goes around the Earth a couple times, then slings to the moon, goes around the moon a couple times, and then the lander goes down and lands on the moon, and it just stays there forever. It doesn't have enough fuel to take back off. So it stays on the moon, and there's a bunch of experiments on the lander, little rover that roves away, but this thing will just stay there on the lander.
Whoa. That's so crazy.
Yep.
It's like
really
our
is.
EQ.
It's a backup. It's literally a backup. That's amazing. I didn't think of it that way. It's really like a blood sample, or it's like when someone freezes their eggs or their sperm or something. It's just like, we're gonna hold this for later in case we need it. It's
Yep.
such I mean, like entrepreneurialism is kind of like a common thing now, and you have this journey that people go through where they learn about the, like the web of like businesses that they need to connect to like get their job done. And in your case, that's like NASA or like SpaceX, like that's like you're literally sending something to the moon. Like I'm sure you could talk. I'm sure you could fill the whole podcast of like your journey, but like I'd love to know some crazy stories or just some pieces of that. Like from idea to like we're gonna get something physically on the moon. That must have been a crazy experience.
Yeah. What I'll touch a little bit on like what brought me to this, and then I'll touch like on the journey to the exact like what is LifeShip. What are we doing? I Yeah, I went to grad school at Berkeley, and I built instruments to look for life on Mars. So instruments to look for amino acids on Mars, which is a fundamental building block of life. And then I went and spent 8 years building big telescopes around the world, on mountaintops around the world with this one company, Las Cumbres Observatory, and we built over 20 telescopes around the world, and those are to find new planets around other star systems. And then I came up to San Francisco and joined a company called Planet, also called Planet Labs. And we put about 300 satellites in space, about the size of a loaf of bread. So small satellites to image the Earth every day. And I designed the whole camera system on those satellites, and then coordinated the rockets and getting these to space, and worked on new mission design. So I worked on a lot of satellites in space, and worked on coordinating with rockets and how do you get things to space. And then, and I had felt my calling was around, because I had worked on life in space and looking for places where life could be in space. I had felt my calling was around helping life expand outwards into space. And I was down in the Guatemalan rainforest, and went on this long walk in the rainforest, and it felt like the forest and life was showing me how much life has evolved with intelligence here on Earth, and has filled every niche of what it can do on Earth here, and how life, like the concept of life, likes to expand, and life likes to grow and spread with intelligence, and that's part of why humans are here, is to help life make this next leap outwards. And and then the idea came there in the rainforest of, okay, just start the smallest way, start with the most the building block of life, like our genetic blueprint, and send little seeds with our DNA outwards, and and then do it in a way that also can connect people into this and inspire people, and really space has been very inaccessible for people. Like so many people grow up with dreams of being an astronaut or dreams of going to space. It's a common dream of many of us, and now finally it feels like we're getting close to, okay, maybe some people will be able to go to space, and maybe when we get older it'll be more commonplace. But like, I wanted a way to connect many people more directly to space, and so we came up with a low-cost DNA kit for like around $100, where people can add their DNA and be part of this record of Earth and record of life, and kind of touch on the desire to go to the cosmos, the desire to go to space, desire to go to the moon, and then also like the like feeling of eternity, and like, okay, my like fundamental essence gets to live on out there with the stars, and who knows what'll happen with it. And it gives like a sense of wonder and possibility for the future.
That it's such a trip to think about, because we've evolved here. We're here right now because our genetic code has constantly been passing on, and it was successful up until right now, and it will continue to be successful if we're all reproducing. But to think that that code is there's a chance that code can be in space for more infinite possibilities is just such a mind-blowing idea, that we're in this present moment, in this current moment in history, that that's a possibility, that we can have our genetic code now chilling on the moon, for example. It's so wild.
It's like this like spiritual fulfillment of this astronaut thing that we all grow up with, you know. Like, I love how you explained it. It's like so many people grow up being just like fascinated with space, or with NASA specifically, or space travel, or the moon, or like astrophysics in a grander sense. Like, there's so much. Like, you watch like Cosmos, or like these kinds of shows on like some random channel, and you can't help but be like freaking out, and like it expands the way you see everything. I mean, it literally, like, you and then it's like, hey, let's just have this, like, it's a time capsule in a simple way, but it's like you're not just burying it in the ground and digging it up like 10 years later and it's like cute letters to yourself. It's like a blood sample of Earth, and then you're just like freezing it on the moon. And but you were saying that the moon is like one of the steps, so you're sending other things out to in other directions, kind of thing. Like, I'd love to know more about that as well. Like, what's the future of LifeShip?
Yeah, so the big vision is to send these, as humans start going to Mars and stuff goes to Mars, then send it to Mars. As we can make these tiny, so we can hitch rides on things going to comets, and like have ones on the comets and have ones on other planets. And yeah, we partnered with an organization called Arc Mission Foundation, and Arc Mission's a nonprofit that already put one of these on the moon last year. It launched on a SpaceX rocket in February 2019, and it's essentially like a golden record disc that has all of Wikipedia and like 50,000 books representing all different knowledge, representing a knowledge archive of humanity, of all different cultures, all different traditions. And there was limited amounts of DNA in that first one as well. And so we partnered with Arc Mission, and Arc put one on the moon. Arc also put one in Elon Musk's Tesla Roadster that launched on the Falcon Heavy and shot past Mars and is going around the sun. So they've been on two really incredible missions, one to the moon and one in the Tesla. And so that foundation's purpose and mission is to back up human knowledge and Earth's biology across the solar system. So we've partnered with Arc Mission, and we're doing all different species through the nonprofit, and then we're bringing people along through LifeShip. And so yeah, the goal is across the solar system, and then our goal is also to send them to the stars, and to miniaturize. Essentially the whole Earth could fit on something the size of like a penny, and the code for Earth. And so we could send these direct to certain stars, or send them out in all different directions. And really the goal is, how do we extend life till the end of time? Like, how do we make sure that what we have here on Earth exists both for decades from now and centuries from now, but like billions of years from now. Like, let's at least save the record of it in both a way that could maybe help humanity in 1,000 years, or it could just ensure that Earth's legacy lives on, and there is a record of this incredible planet.
This
Yeah.
this sounds like if I were to write a movie about like alien plant seeding, like this is like the beginning steps of it. It's like you're sending out our information and in hopes that maybe it lands somewhere that some type of species finds it and then discovers it, or just our future selves with if this is like a movie scene, but hypothetically our planet just was over and we just went out in space and we found these we have like a map of where all these times capsules are and we just restart humanity. You know, this would be like a great script, but it's like this is reality. This is actually something you're pursuing.
There's so much sci-fi.
You know,
Like our heads were buzzing. We had some fun conversation that I'm sure you've had all of them also. You know, we're thinking of like just this general concept of panspermia. You know, like we're just bombing like you like I just picture like a sprinkler. You know, like planet Earth just shoots out all these life ships, and then like these planets that we're never gonna even contact. You know, like they're like some kind of second Earth now, or but maybe ways removed. But like this is far fetched because I don't know how like what does the preserving look like? You know, is this something you have to like access, or is this something like this Terrence McKenna idea that we can just like hit a meteor with a planet and like affect life, and then like humans start growing out of a rock or something?
Yeah. So at least at first these are just DNA is inert. You'd be hard pressed to find a scientist who'd think that, oh, you crush one of these with DNA in it into the moon and it's going to sprout life out of it. Um, so we really see it as like a first step. And like I worked on instruments to look for like minuscule little amino acids on Mars and to like look for signs of life on Mars. So I do highly value the scientific keeping space so we can study it and look for life and learn about how life formed. So there is this balance there of like, yes, we want to keep certain places pristine that we want, that we're trying to discover life on, because that can also lead to learnings about how we got here and whether it's quite possible that we came from Mars. That's one of the leading theories is that life either originated on Mars or panspermia happens and life populates across the universe and spreads in little spores. And and it's possible we could even find within in the next like 5-10 years or so that, okay, our DNA is similar enough to something found on Mars that I don't know if we probably won't find DNA on Mars, but we could find that life came from Mars. And so essentially what I see us doing is this first step of okay, how do we consciously think about sending life outwards? And maybe eventually it turns into something that we intentionally either engineer or design or create that could be a spore that could start off a whole new cycle of life somewhere else. But I think this first step of just DNA of Earth is more like, it's more a record and a blueprint that would need to be decoded and planted and found by something advanced, a conscious entity to turn it into life. But
it won't sprout legs or anything, is what you're saying.
No, yeah.
What is the you're saying it's like on a kind of disc? Is like I'm not familiar. Like when you say golden disc, I think right away of like Voyager, and that's about as far as my knowledge goes. So like in whatever layman term, or even a little more complicated, if you want, I'd love to know how you're like translating this info and preserving it, and is it safe, like you said, for like eons, and like how do you derive the information if and when someone finds it?
Yeah. So what our partners at Arc Mission assembled the disk for us, and as part of their mission. And what it is, it's about 40 layers of 40 micron thick nickel. So little nickel layers that that are about the diameter of a DVD. And these nickel layers have nanofiche on it, or they're made of nanofiche, which is kind of like the microfiche that you would look at through a microscope in a library and read old newspapers. But nanofiche is actually grown atom by atom to make the pixels, and so it's the most compact form of storing images ever developed.
Okay.
In analog form. So you could.
That's it. It's analog. It's your. That's
the
awesome.
problem with digital is you need to decode ones and zeros and figure out what that means. But with analog, you can actually, like, with this, the outer layer you can see from your naked eye, and it tells you that there's more information inside, and it teaches you. It has a whole primer it teaches you how to build a microscope and to look at the layers deeper down, and then each layer you go in gets more and more fine so that we can fit more and more information on it. But it starts with a basic primer that even if an alien found this and didn't understand English or didn't understand our way of encoding information, all they have to do is understand pictures, and then they start to learn human language and how we've decoded it. And you get all of Wikipedia in little analog images, so little pictures of it. And so it's really a primer of understanding humanity and culture and language that then teaches how to decode this.
That is so clever. I love that. It's like a bottle. It's like a funnel. It's like the big picture is like how to microscope, and then you apply that to the thing that taught you how to microscope, and you just open up this well of information. But the beginning is just like a how to, sort of like read me almost.
Yep.
That's so cool. I fucking love that.
Like a Rosetta Stone, or like
Yeah.
It teaches.
How do you decide what information should be put on there and what should be left out? Is there, like, I guess, like a preset that everyone just goes by these standards? Is it like I'm sure you want to leave out Twitter and stuff like that.
So Arc Mission, it's a nonprofit that's really their role is to be curators of the knowledge archive. And they've partnered with a bunch of incredible organizations, including the Internet Archive. There's another group called Long Now Foundation, and groups that are working on, okay, what information would we send a billion years into the future? Like, what information is like the core stuff to represent all different cultures, all different. It's really done in a way to how do we represent everyone? How do we represent Earth and humanity and
That's
and
a big
the
role
core
to take.
things we don't want to lose. Yeah.
That's literally our history condensed into that disc. That's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
One I wouldn't be comfortable making it.
There's going to be a bias anyway, right? No matter what you do, there's going to be a bias. So it's like, if you choose to make it look good, you make it's like the galactic, like, Instagram. You're like, yo, humans are really cool. Like, here's Descartes and Emerson and, like, none of the garbage.
Check out some of the Beatles music.
That's
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was it Voyager where they sent out, like, there's a song that's just playing on repeat or something like that, or the lyrics? It was like a specific song. I don't remember which which my knowledge on this is very rusty and foggy. But there was one disc that was out like in the 70s, I think, and it was playing like one of our. Do you know what I'm talking about at all? It's like
I'm not sure of the song, but what the golden record comes from is there were two Voyagers, and both of these have now the first ones that have left our solar system, and are out there in intergalactic space, and they had a record on it that had just like a basic artwork on it that had a human body in proportions, and had an image of our solar system and the of each planet and the size of each planet relative to each other, and then a diagram showing that we came from Earth, and so like a basic conceptual minimal amount of information to kind of send out there as a message. And it was a message to send out to whoever finds it. And
when they send these things out and it leaves the solar system, is tracking completely done after that, or is there some way to get some type of idea of where they are now, or is just we know the trajectory and we know it's somewhere in this region, but there's after a certain point there's just no more data coming back or anything? Is that, or is there advanced technology that keeps track? I don't know.
I believe we're still in contact with the two Voyagers. I believe we get a signal from them, but I know we know exactly where they are, but we could know where they are even without talking to them. But I believe that they're still alive, and we're getting to them. And that's not a super advanced technology. It's an old radio that was built many decades ago. But
it just takes time to get to us, but it's just classic radio, like just it's fucking FM. Like
I think we're still getting pings from them. Yeah,
that's great. I love how it's again, my mind just it goes crazy with like sci-fi. It's like we got this golden disc that's just like, hey, come find us, and then that's like a little scary. It's like it's like what's gonna find that and be like, it's like, oh, there's a human infestation. Like we have to go find these guys.
Well, that's it. I have a genuine fear, and I'm just wondering if this is even a discussion amongst your peers or everyone who sent these things out. Is there a concern that, because obviously these are sent out for maybe us in the future, but also for in hopes for an intelligence to find it, is there a fear or anything in discussion that what if the wrong type of intelligence finds it, or something that can extort or use our energy, and this is like we're giving them our location in a sense?
Yeah.
You know,
there's two organizations that come to mind. One is SETI, which many people are familiar with, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And SETI is really just receiving and looking for, are there signals out there? But there's another organization called METI, which is Message to Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And METI is working on sending information outwards. And there's controversy around METI, and many are fine with us listening and trying to listen to see, but there are you can imagine risks of sending out our location and
well, I
who
mean,
we
we're
are.
kind of shooting blind, right? Like we're in hopes that something that wants to take note and see what we're all about, but we don't know what their intentions are if it came to that point. So it is a risk, but it's like, fuck it, our species is full of risks.
Yeah, it's an unknown for sure.
We're gonna do it anyway, right? I've always thought that's what makes humanity like the kind of like controller, like the peak of evolution on Earth. Whatever, I don't know. I don't want to sound like too pompous about it, but like we're the guys. We have the most control, you know? Like, and it's not because we're the most intelligent, the most social, the most whatever. There's all those things are factors, obviously, but in my mind, we're just the fucking craziest, and anything we can do, we will do. And that's why everything. It's like, oh, let me try to eat this. Like, oh no, it killed me. And then the next guy's like, okay, let me try to mix that with this and then eat it. And they're like, oh no, that killed me. And then just repeat forever until you can launch, DNA codes onto the moon. Like, so it's like if we can, we will. A bunch of people might be like, hey, I don't want to get like spun back up and be a slave to some like, like techno like demigod species like a million years from now. But fuck it, we're gonna do it. We don't care about your concerns. We'd rather try and see what happens, like atom bomb style. Like okay, it's scary, but let's get a handle on this. Let's try to use this and kind of worry about the consequences after, because if you don't do it, the consequences are oblivion, kind of, like you're literally like preserving us. That's worth a lot. That's worth some risk, like who knows what could happen to us. And it's like, yeah, man, let's send it out.
That's a good point. It's a really good point, because there's so many risks that are happening constantly, and it's like, this is, yes, there's a risk, but there's also like a very real solution. And having that blueprint out of our planet, stored other places, is like, might be the fucking thing that brings us back if it came to that.
I have a philosophical worry, like not just the aliens find out where we are or something, but what if we care less about Earth now because we have like a save point? What if, like, as a species, we're saying like, let's blow it up. It's cool. We have a thing now. Yeah, we gotta. we're saved. We have like a backup, like you said. Yeah, we're like, there's a USB stick somewhere with with everything. Is that something anyone's talked about?
It's a point. I look at it more as, okay, if people around the world look up at the moon and know, oh, there's a million species up there, or okay, there's a million people and a million different species. I don't think they'll look at it as, okay, we're safe. We have our DNA up on the moon. I think it can give people what astronauts refer to as the overview effect, which is it can make us more appreciate the Earth and more appreciate that, okay, all life is connected and in this together, and we're on one precious Earth, and we could send us, X number of light years away, but it's still not going to get to a better place than here, and it still has a lot smaller chance of surviving than if we figure out life here and figure out how to live with all the species here. So I think it can be, and that's really, it's really part of what we're doing is you could look at this as like, oh, we got to escape and we got to send this out because yes, we have real challenges on Earth, but what we're really working to do is create this in a way that's a hope-filled mission of celebrating life and celebrating that we're at the point where humanity can now come in better relationship with all of life on Earth and be stewards to life and stewards to Gaia or Earth, birthing more life outwards. So yeah, that's really the core part of our mission, is do it in a way that inspires people and connects people to life.
Yeah, for sure.
I see that. I can imagine, as this is progressing and eventually as the Mars missions happen and they start sending humans actually to go live there, that there might be a group, a big percentage of the population that's starting to feel worried or left out or just not part of the talk. And then something like LifeShip, where no, you can literally be a part of this forever, and it's as simple as sending your DNA, and that's a comforting feeling if you really break it down, because we're all going to die, and one of our genetic reasons we're here is to procreate and to spread our DNA and to continue that genetic code. But now that you know that your code is stored on the moon or in Mars or wherever, that's like you fulfilled your entire bloodline up into and the future bloodline. There's just like this concrete reproduction that's out there that can just be used at any moment in history if the technology allows it. It's really interesting.
That is something that didn't cross my mind at all. Like, this could free up RAM for a lot of people. to just be like, oh, like I don't need to make babies. Like that DNA is going to survive all of my my progeny, like my my like my whole bloodline, maybe the species itself. It's like so like if someone
Fair.
wants kids in a genuine way or something, then that's obviously their prerogative. But some people feel the need to, because you have this kind of existential, like you have this realization that you're the last thing. You're the one that's alive now. Like everything that happened on Earth is like down to everyone here now. And then you have this like duty to procreate. You're like, I don't want all of that to end with me. Like there's a sadness there. And it's like, no, it's cool. Like let's take your DNA and just launch it into space and you're good.
Yeah,
it's
whether it's now or in 100 years or 1,000 years or whatever, there's a chance that DNA can be reintroduced and with the right technology or whatever, and it can just start up then. It's like,
it's nothing if not expired. All joking aside, anytime you're looking to the future, it's always motivating. It's always like it's a well of hope. You're tapping into hope. It's not like this despair thing or this like save it and like let's wreck the place now. Like that's all joking aside. Like I didn't even think of it the way you put it just now, Ben. But like if like now when I'm gonna look at the moon, even if it's not there yet, like I'm gonna see that, and that's inspiring is the only word I can think of. It's like we did that. Humans can do that. What else can we do? Well, how is that going to be used in the future? Like it springs so much emotion and so much thought, and it's honestly actually inspiring. Not in a Disney like, oh, that inspires me. It really does inspire so much. So many thoughts come to mind. So much. It's playful. It's like it's cool. I'm honestly excited about it. Like at first it was kind of like, what's the word? Like it was more abstract, but now that I'm talking to you and it's very concrete and it's like, I first asked you about how it's, how did this happen? How did you get here? You've been in this your whole life. You have, this is your wheelhouse, and now you've just been inspired to like use your skills and use your knowledge to spread the word that is humanity, essentially. Well, not even humans, but like Earth itself.
Yep.
And a
Right.
lot of people who have religious or psychedelic experiences, they have a very similar, like this is like the third or fourth time that I hear something like that, where it's like, yo, yes, we're wrecking the place, but if nature was a consciousness, if nature was here to talk to us, it would say, do what you got to do as long as you spread, you grow. Like maybe this is a launching pad. Maybe the Earth will be destroyed, but it's worth it if we get our claws into more of space and time, if we just see where this story goes infinitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for that reflection. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like what the entire universe has led to each one of us. Like literally our atoms are from exploding stars, and then over billions of years of evolution on Earth. Like imagine every I don't know, imagine the billions of organisms that each reproduce to lead all the way to you, that entire like tree of life that if any, and the number of like close calls those had of like almost dying, and each one of those reproduced, and our like our DNA, like it's this masterpiece of the universe, like each one of us that has survived billions of years of all of this, and
We made it.
yeah.
Against all odds. We fucking
Yeah.
made it. Here right now talking because of that. Every single moment or molecule, whatever life force made it to this moment through us.
Yeah.
And I got to share this because I had this realization last summer. Actually, it was a LSD trip, and I remember I was walking with two buddies. We were going up this mountain, and it like hit me like a tidal wave. I had this vision. I told you, Sammy, I believe, and m- I saw a spear. It was like a giant triangle facing me, and I'm at the point. And the spear, I looked back and I saw man, woman, man, woman, man, woman, and it was just like duplicating and just multiplying in the shape of that triangle. And I'm looking and I'm seeing like double helixes flowing through them all. And I realized that these are everyone before me on my that passed the code, and they're just like pushing me, and I'm the apex of that spearhead. It's my turn to go forward in life, and it's because of all of them. And I remember seeing this, and it like gave me this deep sense of purpose and in life, just that holy fuck, right now I'm the one in front, but it's because of all of them. And I'm not saying that it means I'm supposed to procreate, but it's because of all of them. No matter what happened in their life, they were able to pass on life up until me. It's I felt in my personal experience that it was like almost a duty to continue on. But I'm not preaching that as what that would meant, but it's just that's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm hearing this, it's like we made it to this point in history where this is now a possibility, where I can procreate and I can also extend with the hard drive and the USB key into the moon. You know?
Yep.
Yeah, man. So it's
Yeah,
refreshing to hear that from your point of view too. It's surreal when you think about it.
eternity is now within reach. It's like we're crossing this like analog to digital divide, where like everything is just like only existed based on uh, reproduction and getting passed down, and it's like, oh, now we can store, now the record gets written, and the tree of life can start being recorded. And yeah,
I'm curious, like, this is a cool undertaking, and like in the same vein of what Nate was just talking about, like this is like a nuanced way of like taking up the mantle of that tip of the spear, and I'm sure the ancestors are all clapping like that's a like good one, Ben, like that's cool. But like, do you ever look at anything like the pyramids or like some monuments on Earth, and you think there's something similar there? There's like you see these huge, amazing projects, and you look at them. I mean, not to fluff your ego here, but they're just in a scientific way, just in this kind of shared like mission. Do you ever look at anything on Earth or in space, maybe, like anywhere that tells you like, oh, that's what they're trying to do also? They're sending a big message into the future. Some people even think there's like, life on Mars. Like maybe there was advanced life on Mars. Maybe there's structures on Mars, or the moon itself is artificial if you get into some crazy like conspiracy theories. Like, is there anything like that is obviously like, because you're in that world
yeah.
now of
I'd say the pyramids are a good example. It's something where people took an undertaking to leave a monument, to leave something for the future, and it's something where now centuries later we're discovering things out of those, and um, yeah, and then there's I think there's evidence I saw of a seed bank about 8,000 years ago, and the most one of the popular ones, or the most heard of ones, is the one up in Norway, built into the Arctic Circle, and it's called Svalbard, and it has millions of seeds inside, and it's built into this ice shelf, and is designed to hold those seeds for thousands of years. And so, yeah, there are projects where humans have built something to really think about, okay, let's build something for beyond our generation. Let's build something that withstands the test of time and really passes something down. And I think we're now at the point, especially using space, where we can think about, okay, this could be beyond civilizations even, and yeah, and beyond just thinking about humanity as far as let's just do something good for future humans, but let's do something good for the future of life in the universe as well.
But it's
Wow.
it's been our fascination. I don't know if it's an evolutionary reason or it's just culturally, but since the beginning of humankind, it's very clear that we have a deep fascination with the cosmos. It's embedded in the religious texts.
Yeah.
It's in the cave arts. The always depictions of the skies and the heavens, if you lack of better terms. I don't know if it's an evolutionary motive or it's just culturally evolved into that, but it's very clear that our purpose, or at least our desired purpose, is to explore the cosmos and to go outwards.
Yeah.
We see it in everything we do. We as a civilization, we are talking about it before, but we take risks. We do the crazy things. We're constantly pushing ourselves past those lines. And like the footprint on the moon was our first step into really extending those lines. And now you were saying we have Voyagers outside of the fucking solar system. Now we're soon going to have LifeShip fucking sending DNAs to the moon. And it's so clear that this is like where our path is going to lead if we don't destroy ourselves and kill each other off and we make it as a collective. It's like this is where we're heading, and it's fascinating. It's really a really unique and precious moment in history, in human history, to see this happen. Seeing it happen, it's happening as we're living, but we're in that era right now, which is so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't even know if there's anything to add to that, but it's just a fascinating.
Yeah, you just kind of made us both ponder. We were just like, yeah, that's beautiful. You know?
It really is. It's like, yeah.
A couple of the core, the core human needs I've been thinking about recently, and core one, like exploration and adventure, is like literally in our DNA, and they found genes that lead to ones that are more likely to go outwards and explore. But really, it's part of humanity, is to be curious and wanna spread and wanna expand and wanna move outwards. And the cosmos has fascinated all different civilizations, like the Mayans, the like
They all thought about it. They all wrote about it. Even in the Egyptians, they were building their structures in correspondence to the solar to stars, to constellations. And even like Stonehenge, it's like on the summer solstice, you see it's built in a way where the sun fits perfectly in between the two stones. Like
Oh man, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Sorry. Happy solstice, everybody.
Well, this will probably be 2 weeks after, but yeah.
That's a good point.
But yeah, it's embedded in us, this fascination for the heavens, and maybe it's deeply rooted in our DNA because we're hypothesizing here, but maybe we did come from Mars. Maybe we're a species with amnesia. We lost the knowledge of the past, but it's still actually stored in our DNA, and we're just rediscovering what we already know. Who knows? But it's unquestionable that I would say most of us have this real curiosity for the unknown and for space and for the cosmos. I do have weird discussions with some people that have no interest. I don't understand it. But I think for the most part, collectively, we are very curious about that.
I think it's just not sparked yet. I think space is just so fascinating that if someone's not into it, they don't know enough, or they're too busy with something else. Like I'm sure some people are just genuinely uninterested, but like, I don't know, take them to like an observatory on a clear night or something, and it's gonna change your life to see like.
Go somewhere where there's no light pollution. You'll see, and that's a really sad point of our civilization, is that we have these busy cities that we forget about the cosmos, and then because we look up, you see one or two stars pointing out at us. But if you go, like, I'll use, I was in a desert in Israel back in 2015, and I remember my neck was so sore because I spent 2 hours like this, just staring in the night sky, because literally you saw the tail of the Milky Way, and the skies were painted in stars and all sorts of beautiful light shows. And I was just looking like, this is what it's all about. And we're missing this connection here on these concrete floors in these light polluted cities. And I feel like
I,
if we
I
had
do
that,
this sometimes. Like just to cover the light, you see like more stars. It's just a cool trick. Like I try to like cover the ambient light, and you start seeing like more stars pop up. But it's like 4 or 5 stars. You can count them. It's not like a string of like purple clouds or
yeah,
whatever
you're
you
like, oh,
see.
there's the North Star. That's like the
Yeah,
one that
that's
stands out the most, you know? But I feel like collectively, if we had more of that as a visual canvas every night, we would have such a different discussion about space.
No.
And
for
I
sure.
wanted to actually get your opinion on this because you're in this field and you've probably heard the discussions a lot. And maybe some people in your circle or you've encountered say, what's the point in funding space exploration when there's so many problems here on Earth? And I don't think some people who use that argument don't realize the actual value of space exploration and what this means for us. I wonder what you feel about that. I'm sure you've heard these kind of conversations many times over.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say there's several layers to that. There's first like, okay, how does that benefit humanity right here and now? And there's tons of ways that space is used to help Earth right now. Like the last company I was at, Planet, is recording the whole Earth every day with satellites, and then it's helping us see where did every tree disappear in the last 24 hours. Where's illegal fishing happening? There's direct ways that it's happening immediately on Earth, and communications and GPS, and so there's direct technological ways. There's inspiration. Like humanity has grown tremendously by putting footsteps on the moon. Like that has inspired entire generations to grow up, not to just do things in space, but to do great things here. And it's inspired science and technology, like whole generations of scientists and technologists that are doing good things to help Earth. And so, yeah, it helps here and now. Eventually, it will. We'll asteroid mine, and we'll find materials, and we'll move heavy industry out into space and protect the Earth better, and do the things in space that don't need to happen down here on Earth because they take too much energy or are polluting, or we get the materials out there. So eventually there will be that layer, but that still is all the level of thinking about how does this help humanity. And if we abstract it further and say how does this help life in the universe, then it's part of that as well, and that maybe humanity is one piece in this whole in the whole system of both Earth, and one piece in the whole system of the universe. And it's possible that this is one of our grand purposes for being here, is to help bring more life and consciousness to the whole system of the cosmos, of the universe. And yeah, so I feel like it impacts on all different levels of whether you're thinking locally or thinking grander and grander. It's different
100%.
levels of purpose.
Yeah.
It's intense. It's funny because a lot of that, everyone in any kind of field that touches on space or like these space is a kind of poster child for it, but it's these ideas that are really far in the future. It doesn't necessarily have to be space. It could be exploring the ocean. It could be like experimental and theoretical physics that doesn't really show any kind of fruit right now, but it's like the truth is all of these people they're the ones who have the seed of, like, how do I put it? Like you're all the people who are holding this idea of like the type 1 civilization. You know, like these are the kinds of people who know that kind of stuff and who carry that consciously or unconsciously in the work that they do. And whether we realize it or not, you're the ones who are building that spirit, and sometimes literally building those technologies, like you said, about like mining asteroids or or having colonies or whatever, like all this crazy stuff that we are like, people are working on, but we're as the layman normal dude who's just going to work every day, we're barely fathoming and maybe grazing upon in a sci-fi novel or a Star Trek episode, So it's in that way I see it as imperative for human future. But then all that being said, you're taking a step back and saying it's not even really about humanity, which is really interesting to me because I'm a human. I can't think beyond myself yet. I can try, and it feels disingenuous because it's like I just care about like me and like my species, my kids, my parents. Like it's all wrapped up in the me, But for you, you're saying like, no, this is maybe just more about life. This is more about like the spreading of life, and that will grow into different and maybe similar consciousnesses or something. Like you don't even really, I don't know, how far do you see ahead when you think of stuff like that? You just have this kind of quiet and simple mission of spreading life. And obviously that gets layered and complicated, but what's your inspiration for that? Why is it so life itself and less, the human consciousness and the human story?
Yeah. Well, we know life will only exist on Earth for max another billion or couple billion years before it gets too hot here. And so we know that life needs to move outwards sometime. And we could kick the can down the road and say, okay, future civilizations can deal with this. We have problems here and now. But I think we're in a mass extinction right now. We're in the 6th major mass extinction. We're losing species. What we're sending outwards, at least to start, is just tiny objects on missions already going there. And so it feels like we've already passed a peak. It's time to do it now. And I think it's not just something, as we were just talking about, it's not something to just impact, okay, maybe this will help in a billion years from now, or maybe this does something. It's something where it's really a mission that I think we can do to inspire people and inspire preservation of life here and now. So I think it is something that can have a meaningful impact on life today, and how we look at the Earth, and how we look at our species, and how we look at the plants and animals and fungi as our brothers and sisters, and us being just part of this system of life, and us having a certain role as stewards, as conscious stewards for life on Earth.
Conscious stewards. I like that. Yeah, it's like that whole am I my brother's keeper idea from the Bible. I think about that a lot, and obviously it's from person to person, thinking like, is it as someone else my responsibility? And I guess you kind of touched on that in a clear way. It's like, well, we have a lot of power, a lot of responsibility, and to call us stewards or shepherds or something like that, there's a lot of humility in that. Like we are part of this. We feel like we're on top and we're owning Earth, but the truth is that we're suffocating Earth. We're sitting on the lid thinking that we own the place, and because of that, we're going through a massive extinction. And it's really a reflection. It's really like an honest reflection to just be like, oh, it's no one is going to come and do this for us. This is our home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even that, knowing that timeline, that in 1 billion years that the Earth will be way too hot for life to continue living onwards. It's like we have an end date, which time will pass, and that date will eventually hit. So it's like we can kick the can down the road, like you were saying, and just pass the dirt on to the next and the next and the next. But that timeline's still coming. So at some point, someone has to step up to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what makes sense is the sooner the better. Even though 1 billion years is 1 billion years, it's someone has to take action, and we're at a point where our technology allows people like you to start taking that action. It's instead of just delaying it.
And it's all happening. The rockets are being built to take large numbers of people out there in the next like single numbers of years. And and along with that, it just makes sense. Okay, the people are starting to go out there. We're going to start building moon bases soon, and then Mars bases, and let's take life out there as well. It's not just people and robots and astronauts. It's about life moving outwards.
Yeah, the everyman chilling like on the moon, being some kind of farmer or something.
I want to respect your time. I don't know if you have a few minutes extra, because I have a question I want to ask you. It's okay?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, because you've been in this field for collectively, what, over 20 years or close to it or something like that?
Yeah, 15 plus years. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, because we're in a point where it's super exciting what's happening and all these projects happening at once. Is this like not a surprise to you, but is this moment super interesting and exciting for you too? Or is it kind of, as you were in the field, you gradually built to this, so it's kind of like a normal day at the office? Or is it all these projects happening? It's almost like you take a step back, you're like, wow, this is wild.
It is. I feel like I've had a view for a while, like, okay, when I grow up, this, like, yeah, eventually we're gonna do this. But the what Elon Musk is doing with rockets, with what Jeff Bezos is doing, what, like, there's it's really shifted to, especially in the last weeks, as two astronauts launched on a commercial rocket for the first time, on like a modern rocket with just displays, and it's not like buttons and knobs. It's just like, oh, you just hop in the thing and it flies itself up to space. And now the next bigger one's being built that can literally take hundreds of people to space. And it's just like, okay, it's all happening. It's no longer just two people riding up to a space station. It's like the entire like railway is being built, and will be essentially open in the next, like, 5-10 years, to like, okay, now hundreds, thousands of people can go, and now there's daily flights, and rockets are no longer thrown away. It's just like they're airplanes, and they just go, and the moon is, it's like 2 days away, and you can go there anytime. And so yeah, there's going to be daily flights there, and not too far into the future. And so yeah, it really feels like it feels like it all has reached this point of like there's no way it's not happening now. Like, it's all like, enough people have seen it happening, enough billionaires know it's happening, that they're putting themselves into the next phase. And it's no longer crazy to think about, oh, I'm going to build a moon-based company, or I'm going to build a farming on the moon company. It's like, the shit's happening. Like, someone's got to do it. And so it really feels like it's past this point of no return, in a certain way, of like, it's all happening.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is this springing up an insane amount of innovation right now? It feels like this is like a new rush. Like, I met with the moon landing craze back in the whatever it was, in the 60s or whatever, earlier. There was just an intense. Sorry.
69.
Yeah. So 69. There was an intense. There was an intense boom in innovation and technology. I feel like this is like resurfacing again, because up until now there was bigger announcements and things were happening, but it feels like it's ramping up, like the dial is being turned on max. And now your kind of companies are showing up, and Elon's with his insane concept and how it works is why waste the fucking boosters and land them nicely and reuse them? Like, this is crazy how this is happening. And I feel you're in the field, so I'm sure you're seeing it, but it does feel like, from an outsider, that the innovations are back and ramping up, and things are happening, and new ideas are being sprung out, and more money is being poured into it. And we're going to see some cool stuff in, like you said, the next 5 to 10 years. That's cool.
It pushes forward technology on all different levels, from like our transition to a electric energy economy, to part of the inspiration of that is what do we need for space, and to like all the things where we're just at the start of this transition of even 5 years ago when I was at this company Planet, and we launched 300 satellites and launched the most satellites ever launched into space by an organization. But now we're thinking about tens of thousands of satellites and hundreds of thousands of satellites, and there are all sorts of new things that can be done with giant grids of satellites that are helping us understand and quantify and measure the Earth, that turns into just a data layer of how do we understand and care for the Earth, and it's like, okay, now we have our eyes and our ears on the Earth, and our ability to maintain it, and as artificial intelligence comes along and just has this tremendous data on Earth, then we're able to you can't like fix something or take care of something that you can't measure, and we're learning how to just to measure and care for the Earth in a way that wraps technology around it.
That's awesome. I never thought of it that way. Oh, sorry.
No, but I'm just saying, just to Sammy's point from before, it really feels like we're on the right trajectory if things go right in social dynamics and cultural dynamics, but we're literally on the right path of reaching that type 1 civilization that's been theorized for so long. It's whether it's now or in 50 or 100 plus years, it's like this is the path, this is what needs to be taken to get there. It's so crazy to think about.
I never thought of it that way either. Like we always hear about that Michio Kaku quote where he says like type 1 civilization needs this kind of like planet-sized telephone system, but you're giving this appreciation to this planet-sized mirror, sort of, where it's like we actually need to know what it is that we're looking at, what it is that we are or that we're working with. It's not just about being able to talk to each other again in this kind of human-centric mentality, but it's like we're kind of just the hands of the planet in a way. And if we think that we own the place, we're screwed, like we were saying earlier. So it's like we're kind of building eyes, or like looking at our body, looking at what's going on, the body, like the planet itself. And I never thought of it that way. There's more components than I've realized. Even if it's in a general kind of like swooping sense, like type 1 civilization needs a few things, and these satellites are one, the internet is another, some advanced but specific artificial intelligence that can make sense of all the data, like there's kind of
the USB key backup
just in case.
Yeah.
Safe point.
It all piles together.
Yeah, it does. And every step of the way is more inspiration back to us, because you were talking about the step on the moon, and like we didn't live through that, but we've been hearing about it our whole freaking lives. And it just kind of becomes a story in the background, to the point where I saw people getting launched into space a couple of weeks ago or whatever. And it didn't strike me in the way that I thought it would. I was amazed. I was getting into it, but it's almost like I was like, yeah, humans do that. Like I'm almost like playing it cool. It's like, no, man, imagine you're like a 6-year-old or like a 10-year-old and you're watching this, and this guy brings a freaking like a dinosaur into space. Like it's like, yeah, it's space, whatever. Here's a freaking like teddy bear that I brought, and it's like floating because they're in 0G. Like that's gonna make that kid different and inspired, and who knows what that person's going to like invent, or what they're gonna help create.
A whole new generation of innovators comes from that.
Yeah.
And it's because of people like you with the LifeShip ideas. And this is not only incredible for us in the present moment, but for the future kin and the young kids looking at this, being like, holy fuck. And then they're not saying holy fuck, hopefully, but they see this, and this just starts springing in the more of that curiosity of the cosmos. And then they find their part, and the whole cycle continues. And then it's like compound interest. The way I look at like space exploration is it's like a long-term investment that when it shows its dividends, it's like your profit's gone up 20x, 30x, 500x, 5000x. And now we're going to understand why we did this. when we had years of no returns, and then all of a sudden it's just this fucking tidal wave of holy shit. We got thousands of fucking satellites mapping out the planet at every moment. We got USB keys on the moon. We got people living on Mars now, and it's like holy shit, you know.
Nope.
And it's because of you guys. It's because of you guys. And I want to respect time. I really want to give you like deep gratitude and thank you for what you're doing, man, and what you've done in the past. And I was excited for this conversation, but I was a little bit like, sending a DNA to the moon. But you really illustrated what it means, and Sammy can agree on this. We think of this project completely differently now, and I'm actually super excited about this project, and I see the implications of what it has to offer, not for the present moment, but for the years to come.
Yeah.
Man, thank you, brother.
Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Sammy.
That's
yeah,
cool,
it's a deep mission. I'm I'm incredibly blown away by it, grateful by it. Like more is unraveling out of it each day for me personally, and the impact this can have both here and today and for the future, and it being a way for people to connect to these core human needs of exploring and being part of our species and having an inspirational view of humanity and life and our future. And yeah, I'm excited to connect people to the cosmos with it.
If people want to pursue this through you, how do they get a kit and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you go to lifeship.com and they're around $100, and you get, we mail you a kit, and then it has you give a saliva sample in there, and we extract your DNA out of that and then preserve it into this record along with other species. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do
DNA
it
lives on forever.
Cool.
That's it.
I think I'm gonna get one.
Yeah.
That's
down,
awesome.
man.
I'm happy to send you to each one.
Awesome.
Send
We
over
spoke about just for our listeners that we were talking on the phone earlier, I think last week or this week, whatever, last week, about potential giveaway.
Yeah.
And so what we'll do? We'll do a separate post for this.
Okay.
Everyone listening, you'll just follow along, but we'll do like a like, share or something. We'll figure it out. We'll post it. And for you listeners, once this is released, we'll put it like a 2-week window or a 3-week window or whatever. And the winner of this will get a giveaway LifeShip DNA kit for themselves. That'd be pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think that's an awesome gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Sweet.
Even the box is good. I even like the
beautiful
art.
box.
Yeah.
When you were showing it, I'm like, oh, that looks beautiful. It's just like a display kit.
Eternity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. We'll put in the details, everyone, if you're listening, and stay tuned. So
Awesome.
thank you, Ben. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you both. Okay.
Thank you
Bye,
again, man.
Nate. Bye, Sammy.
Take care.
Okay.